And the first guest is Angela Jackson Brown. She has been on the show. I believe this is her third time because she's been on the show for each of her last three books, including her latest book, which is titled Untethered. And so we welcome back Angela Jackson Brown to Black Authors Matter TV.
Hello, how are you?
Doing great, doing great. And congratulations on the release of your new book. You have a copy of it. Okay, Untethered. And you have a tab in there. So you have some things that you
Oh,
found or a place that you want to read from. Is that where
well,
you from?
that's just where I have it marked where I do my read when I do my reading, so I don't have to
To
hunt.
find it?
So yes,
Okay. All right. Now your book came out recently. What day? What was it last
December
Tuesday?
3rd. hmm December
Okay,
3rd.
so it was last Tuesday. We try to get people on the release date, but it's not always possible because a lot of times on the release date they have a jam-packed schedule, which I'm sure
Yeah.
you do too. What did you do on your book release date?
I did a book signing on December 3rd at a bookstore here in Bloomington, Indiana, where I live and teach. So I was at Morgenstern Books. Then the following night, I was at Loudmouth Books, a Black-owned bookstore in Indianapolis, Indiana. Tomorrow night, I'll be in Louisville, Kentucky. And then for most of the latter part of January and most of February, I'll be touring in Alabama where the book is set.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, it sounds like you now I think did you post a picture of you at Loudmouth Books?
I did.
Okay, because I saw that. Saw
Yes.
the photo of you there. So that's great. Well, you like the historical fiction lane. That's where you've been. Are all of your books historical fiction?
So far, um, everything I've written so far has been historical fiction. The book I'm working on now is fantasy. So I am actually trying my hand at something that I've not done before. I sort of drew inspiration from Octavia Butler's last book, Fledgling. So I'm writing about a group of African American vampires.
Okay. Yeah, I read Fledgling. That was I read several of Octavia's books, not all of them, but Kindred, of course. Uh,
Yes.
Fledgling was the last one, I think, and I can't remember. She had several books that had seed in the title, and I can't remember all the titles, but I read some of those.
Yeah, she had I think there
Wild
was one called
Seed.
Maybe Earth Seed, Wild Seed. That may have been it. I know Parable of the Sower, Parable of the
Okay,
Talents.
right. Okay, I read those. I read the Parable book. So yeah,
Yeah,
she was a great writer, and it would be great if we could get some more from her, but she's gone to another plane. Yeah, and
absolutely.
Nikki Giovanni passed away. That was the year she came
Yes.
out, and that
Yeah,
was
that gutted a lot of us today.
yes,
And because we're seeing our elders move out of here. They're going on to the next plane. So it really means that, those of us that are still here, we have to do the due diligence because they paved the way. Now it's our turn to step up.
yes, I agree with you on that. And that was I saw it. The NACP Image Awards posted it this afternoon.
Yeah.
Because I follow their page, and that was where I first saw it. So,
Yeah, so many of my friends knew her firsthand. I've met her twice, but I didn't meet her in a substantive way. It was just I was at an event where she was speaking and I got to go up and say hello. But yeah, I have a lot of people in my timeline and friends that are struggling really, really hard today because from everything I gather, she was a very giving spirit. She was the kind of person who was willing to mentor a lot of the up and coming younger poets. So yeah, a lot of people are hurting today.
yeah, and she had a very long career of, poetry. She from the 60s, I think, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. That's
Yeah, she was 81, I believe, or 82, 81, 82, something like that. And I think she started very early in her life as a poet. So, yeah, she had a long
um,
career. And I hope those that are sad today can quickly um, take heart that she's still with us because she left
yes,
us with such an
the body of
amazing
work.
body of work that we don't ever have to not have her voice in our heads because she left us with her work. And that's what any author can say. You know, if you can be in a position where your work lives on after you leave here, that's a blessing.
Right. And, we've said this on the show. That's the thing about being an author. Your work can outlive you. And people can be
Absolutely.
reading your work for years, years in the future when you're not here physically anymore. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So tell us about Untethered, and is it connected to your other books? Now, Homework was your last book, and I read um it was The Light Breaks, or
Yeah, the light always breaks.
The Light
No,
Always Breaks. Okay.
Untethered is completely different in terms that it's not connected to any of my previous work. It's set in an actual place, Troy, Alabama, where I went to college. And it's about a Black woman, Kasha Daniels, who is set in 1967. She is the executive director for the Pike County Group Home for Negro Boys, and it's about the relationship that she has with these young boys as a motherly figure, but it's also about just at the struggles it in being a woman, but more specifically a Black woman who is everything and all things for everyone, and often gets left sort of in the dust when it comes to her own self-care. So Kasha's the kind of person that gives to everybody and never really feels validated. She took care of her mother when her father passed away and her twin brothers. And when the book begins, her brothers are missing in action in Vietnam. And we get to see her again trying to help her family cope with these boys being missing in action. There is a love story in the book. She meets a young man that was her high school crush, and he also fought in the war and comes home injured. And we get to see her try to figure out how to make love fit in her action-packed life of so many responsibilities.
Oh, okay. Now, where'd the title come from? Untethered. And your last two books had one word titles.
Yeah, this was a collaborative process in terms of the title. I say I'm not very good at coming up with titles for my book. The only book that I titled was my very first book, Drinking from a Bitter Cup. So this
Mhm.
book had a different title when I was working on it. And so my agent and my editor and I sort of went back and forth with titles. And Untethered was part of a, I think like a 2 or 3 word title. And I just sort of focused in on that word and thought, untethered. I like that. I like the idea of sort of releasing oneself of this sense of obligation to be all things to all people. My character likens herself physically to Nina Simone. She cuts off all her hair to be short like Nina Simone's. She loves listening to Nina Simone's music. And she really sees her as just this free spirit in terms of an artist, someone that she wishes she could be more like. And as the book unfolds, I think we see her getting more and more comfortable with releasing herself from being the savior for everybody.
Hmm. Even though your book is set in a historical setting, that idea of being there for everybody, like being the central being that holds things together, especially with family. That is so true, especially for Black women. And so I believe a lot of people will be able to relate to your character just because, a lot of us are, kind of the glue
Oh,
that holds,
absolutely.
everything together.
I've
And
had so many Black women already who either read the book post publication or pre publication, and some that have even read it since who have said that exact same thing. When it's I needed this book because I'm her, and I needed to see that it's okay for me to let go of some things, and that doesn't mean I'm a bad person. And I think sometimes we get tasked with taking care of everybody, whether it's
yeah,
at home, on our jobs, and we keep inching further and further down the pecking order of being taken care of. And I think sometimes the title strong Black woman is to our detriment. In fact, I know it is. I really have tried to resist that title because it's okay to be weak sometimes. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to
yeah,
need help and to
yeah, it's
need
okay to
support.
need, it's okay to say, you know what, I need help with this. I
Yeah.
need you to help me with X, whatever that is. And
Yeah.
it's okay because, when you have everything piled on you, it affects your health, and a lot of people, it can be a lot of illnesses are stress related. And so,
Absolutely.
but sometimes if we suffer in silence, people just assume that we're okay, that we can, carry all the stuff. And
Yeah.
sometimes we just have to verbalize, look, I need you to do this. I need you to, and not in a nagging way. Just, just I need you to help me do this.
Yeah. If we let people know that we can do all things, um, then they'll keep
They'll
assuming
expect
that we
us
can
to,
do it. Yeah.
yeah, they'll expect us
If
to do
you
a
can
lot.
do if you can do very little with very little, do a lot with very few resources, then you don't get the resources. I was talking to some colleagues about that. I was like, we were talking about teaching overloads, and I'm like, if we continue to show people that we can teach more classes than we're required to teach, then guess what? They're going to say teach more classes. So it's okay to say no, I choose myself in this instance, and I don't choose to overwhelm myself with more responsibility than necessary. I think it was Shonda Rhimes who wrote a book called My Year of Yeses. And I thought, Chandra, why'd you put that book out there? Because what you're not also saying is that you probably have people at home to take care of cleaning your house. Maybe you even have a chef at home. You have assistants on top of assistants. It's a different thing to say your year of yes versus the single mom who's trying to do like Shonda Rhimes and do everything and say yes to everything. Sometimes we need a year of no. We need to say, and no is a complete sentence. No period. It doesn't need any additional verbiage. And it's okay to say no, I can't do that.
Yeah, it's um I started limiting my activities. If I have something I'm doing one weekend, like where it's a lot, like an event where it's going to require a lot physically, mentally, and all of that, moving stuff around, going somewhere, driving, or just it's a jam-packed weekend. The next weekend, I don't do anything. I don't do that anymore. I don't have back-to-back weekend stuff because it's just too much.
Right.
And
Right.
so, you have to get to a point where you can, like you say, just say, no, I can't do that because I've already got something, um, an obligation, and you do. And the obligation is you
To
may,
myself.
yeah, yeah, you may be at home, but you need
Yeah.
the rest,
Yes.
you know.
And I've gotten to the point now, Gwen, I don't even do all, I don't even give people all of that. I mean, like if it's a close friend or a family member or something, I might provide them with an explanation. But I've gotten to the point now where I really do accept that no is a complete sentence. And I'll just say, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. That's it. You
Yeah,
don't
well, I
have to
don't
know
give them an
all the
explanation.
reasons.
I just tell them I have a commitment already, which is true. I have a commitment to myself.
Yeah.
I can't do it all. And sometimes it might seem like I'm doing it all. That's some people, they see that you're doing a lot of stuff and they just think you just want to be doing a whole bunch of stuff. And yes, I do have a lot. Like this show is a commitment. And
Hmm.
so it's every Tuesday, it's 2 hours, but it's more than the 2 hours because
It
it's the
is.
planning, it's the booking, it's the after, it's all of that. And so um, I don't that I have to limit what I obligate myself to now. And then I need time for myself. I'm behind on my book reading because I don't have as much free time as I want. And then a lot of times when I get to it, when I sit down, I'm sleepy. It's the end of
Yes.
the day. I've already done it. I've worked. I've cooked. I've eaten. I sat down, watch a little TV. And then by then, if I'm gonna read, I'm sleepy. So I have to get enough hours of that in before I just fall asleep. Sometimes a lot of times I fall asleep reading a book. And I read books. So I'll have the book in my hand and it drops on the floor a couple of times. That means, okay, I need to
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
So, but we have to do it and not feel guilty about it because
Exactly.
all these people that need us, we need to be around if they're going to continue to need us.
Exactly. And
Good
and
health.
and and that's exactly where I was trying to go with this book, to be able to illustrate that we are better when we do put ourselves first.
Yes.
I can't remember who it was. Someone was talking about her family life, and she said, I put God first, I put myself second, I put my husband third, and I put my children fourth. And I was thinking to myself, wow, that's interesting, because she said, if I put myself right after God, then that means I've got a better me to give to everybody else. But if I'm putting them ahead of me, then all I have left are crumbs. And I thought, wow, that's really deep. I hadn't really thought about it that way, because in my mind, it's always about putting everything before me, putting my children before me, putting my husband's needs as much as I can before my own. And so the thought of reversing that and saying, no, I got to pour into myself, and then I have something to pour into you.
Yeah, that I, I hadn't heard it verbalized like that, but that's more or less what I do. And I don't have any small children, so I have my daughter is 28 years old, and I have stepchildren, and they're way older than that. So you know, but you're right. If you're not taking care of you, you can't take care of other people. That's
Sure
just the way
can.
it is. You can't. And so um, and a lot of people depend on the mother, who's the glue. So Angela Anderson, who's watching the show, she said, "Hello, Untethered is a 10."
Thank
She said,
you.
"This
Thank
book
you.
is so good. I am talking wow factor book hangover good." I hadn't heard about a book hangover, so
I've not heard that either, but I like it.
so okay. So for those out there who are watching the show, get your copy of Untethered because I have Angela's last three books I know. So I just haven't ordered this one yet, but I'm putting it on my order list
Oh,
as
thank you. Thank
tonight
you.
as we speak, as soon as I get done. And Shaniqua Dupree says, "Good evening. Yes, prioritize. It's so important, and it's so easy to do the opposite of what you were talking about. I know my mother, she never put herself, she never did it in that order. And
Mm.
she ended up having so much stress that it affected her health. And she passed before her time to me. She was
Yeah.
72, but she was so stressed because she always put herself last, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, my mother didn't make it to her 70s and she had cancer, but I truly believe that a large part of her ongoing health issues were related to stress. I think stress can bring on a lot of things,
Oh, it can. What
not just the obvious. We think of heart disease, we think of stroke, but any disease that invades our body, it has to have the ability to do so. And so if we're in a stress state, it opens us up for all sorts of possibilities of ill health. So
right, it does. And so now she had hypertension, which led to kidney failure. A lot of people don't realize if you have hypertension that's not treated, and hers was treated, but they couldn't get it
get it
down,
under control.
under control enough, and it affected her kidneys. So then she had kidney failure. She was on dialysis, and
Mm,
dialysis is not a long-term solution to
no.
anything. You need a new kidney pretty, within a couple of years, and she didn't get a kidney, and I would have given her my kidney, but I had hypertension as a result of I never had a high blood pressure reading all my life through my pregnancy. But
Mm,
after I had a C-section, I guess it was a surgery. I've had hypertension ever since. I'm on meds been
oh,
since then, since my daughter's 28. So it triggered something. Even during
yeah.
my pregnancy, my blood pressure was like 110 over 70. It was wonderful, but
Mm,
it just triggered something, and I was on it. But it's good. It's been good on meds, and I take my meds, and I have heard about people, and I believe in homeopathic um, approaches to most things, um, can be treated that way or controlled. But the people I know that have controlled their blood pressure without meds went vegan. And I'm a good cook, and I like food too much to do that. All the good stuff.
yeah.
So, I love, and I'm not a big eater, but I love good food. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
I'm,
I'm a Southerner through and through, and so I
yeah,
can go a long while without eating meat, but there's those times when my Southernness just kicks in, and I want to get in that kitchen and cook all those dishes that my daddy used to cook, and none of them are healthy. So I say to everybody, look, y'all get this once a year, then we got to work the rest of the year to get back in shape to do it again.
yeah. Well, I've learned some self-made recipes that are healthier. Like I do meatless vegetables, like greens.
Mhm.
I don't put meat in any vegetables, and my vegetables are delicious. But I had to
About the
do the
seasoning. It's
experiment.
about the
Yeah, it's
seasoning.
about the seasoning, and I use olive oil, like
Hmm.
it's an active ingredient. Um, it's wonderful vegetables like that. And so now vegetarian is one thing.
Yeah,
Vegan is a whole nother thing. And
yeah,
so that's like no dairy, you know. And
yeah.
I love ice cream. Cheese. I put heavy cream. I use heavy cream to great effect. so
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
but anyway, I love the title of your book, Untethered. It gives a little like unattached. It gives, it could even be a person who's like traveling. When I think untethered, I think someone who like goes around the world and like doesn't, just not bound by
yeah,
convention or, what
yeah,
other people think.
yeah. Sometimes it's ourselves. We become
Yeah.
untethered to the things that we carried in our own minds about ourselves and about life. So sometimes it's just releasing that and just untethering ourselves from all of these bad thoughts and feelings and emotions.
Yeah, that's true. So, but I really do love the title. Now, what feedback besides Angela's glowing review rating, when you went did your readings, how is it being received by the audience?
It's been, it's been amazing. My last book event at was the book sold out. So that's a blessing in and of itself.
Mhm.
And I've just, like I said, I've been receiving a lot of positive feedback. I can barely keep up with the girlies on Instagram with their posts. They've been doing such an amazing job promoting the book and talking it up. It's so important to have people like you, Gwen, and to have the Black bookstagrammers and the Black TikTokers, because I'm on there, but I'm not on there as much as some. And so they are doing the labor for me, and I'm so grateful for it because they really are in a lot of ways promoting the books in a way that we just don't get in terms of the big promotions. One or two of us will get a shout out at some by some of the major news sources, but more times than not, it's us talking about us. And so I'm so grateful for that.
Right. And podcasts, and we're in a period where the information is flowing differently than it was 5 years ago. And so podcasts are really, video or audio, they've really become a source of information and escape for some people, um, a way to really tap into whatever the niche is of your interest in a meaningful way with other like-minded people. So
Mm-hmm.
we got in on it sort of as it started to take off, and we haven't stopped yet. And we've had 700 over 700 guests, not interviews, guests. So
Yes.
you only count as one. Every time you're on, you don't count anymore. We counted you the first time you were on. So we we keep going with it, and
Well,
we love doing
we
it.
thank you for what you're doing, Gwen. It's amazing work. And it's
Well,
not, not everybody is out here doing the kind of labor that you're doing. So we thank you for that.
well, you're welcome. And it's really helpful to have a co-host. It's helpful to have two people. Um, because you have the synergy, you have the ability to still have the show. If one person can't do, the whole show that night or whatever, we're able to still have the show. We don't have to cancel because of that. And so, and because the show is live, that it's a lot different from other shows that
Yeah.
are taped. And we have an interactive audience, so we're able to really, make it personal. And occasionally with technology, you even have a glitch every now and then. But it's all good because when it's live, anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Well, we're actually past the end of our time. So 1 minute past. So can show your book cover one more time. And
Okay.
everybody go out and get your copy of Untethered by Angela
Yeah.
Jackson Brown.
Thank you so much. Everybody have a great evening.
Okay, thanks for being on.
Okay. Good night.
Okay, good night.